I made up my mind to make a change in my life when I was 16 years old. We are all gods on this planet, every man and every woman.
But with you right now, that's all I wanna do. Know you need it, girl, and you know I need it too.
I felt like a freak for about 30 days because all my friends, they made a big hoop to do out of it, you know.
Right. I would think
that music is my lifesaver. That's why I dedicated my life to that lady. To this day, to the day I die, I will make music.
My darling, I can't get enough of your love, baby.
How did the opposite handle the voice when they first heard it?
Well, the young ladies liked it, you know.
Well, here I am, baby. Practice what you preach.
Barry White, known for his deep, smooth voice and classic hits like Can't Get Enough of Your Love, Babe, and You're the First, the Last, My Everything, totally rocked the music scene.
Can't get enough of your love, babe.
And you see the main reason behind his success was his deep, resonant voice, his loving personality, and his legacy as the ultimate love-making songwriter and singer.
Baby, I wish that you would, 'cause you keep telling me this.
Yet, what most people don't know about him is that he was a bold critic of the industry and society of his time.
The people of this country really don't know what's going on. They're being told certain things, we're being told this.
Why did Barry White feel compelled to expose the music industry back then? Was it because he saw injustices and wanted to make a difference?
In our industry, the industry has changed. Studios going out of business every day in Hollywood.
And he sent out some harsh messages that likely didn't sit well with the higher spheres of Hollywood. How tough was it for Barry White to navigate the industry as a black man in those days?
Providing a great environment, a nice place to live, and suddenly someone says, you can't do that anymore. That's heartbreaking.
And what challenges did he face, and how did he overcome them?
I did it more as surviving in the neighborhood, let everybody know where my stand is and where I am. I'm with everybody, I'm involved.
He believed that artists should be educated when entering the industry, not just to maximize profits from their talent, but to avoid being exploited by executives. How did his own experiences shape this belief?
The record business is a very lucrative business. It's the only business where a man can go to sleep tonight poor and wake up tomorrow rich man.
And what insider knowledge did he possess about the industry's ins and outs?
What's going to happen to the new artists coming in? They're going to have to come in with a different philosophy. They can't just come into this business as a singer.
During his whole time, he was known for being a free artist, not tied to any major record labels, a stance that might have ruffled some feathers in the past. Why did he refuse to sell his soul to these producers?
Where I am, I'm with everybody, I'm involved. But there came a day when I became a man and I put away childish things.
And what sacrifices did he make to maintain his independence? How did this decision impact his career and his relationships within the industry?
It is very tough. Where we're headed, only God knows where we're headed. I don't have a crystal ball, Jay.
White's commitment to his principles and his fearless stance against industry norms raise many questions. So buckle up, because you are going to love Barry even more after knowing how he managed to maintain his integrity in an industry notorious for pressuring artists to conform. What lessons can new artists learn from Barry White's journey? How did his willingness to speak out shape his legacy, both as an artist and as a trailblazer? Barry White's story is not just about his music, but also about his courage to stand up for what he believed in, making him a truly unique figure in the history of popular music. So let's get started. The 70s were a wild ride for teens discovering the world of intimacy. For the guys, it was all about Farrah Fawcett's iconic poster, The Bionic Woman, Halter Tops, and Marsha Brady. Girls were swooning over Sean Cassidy, Eric Estrada, Chokers, and Keith Partridge. And let's not forget the smooth, sultry bass of Barry White that set the mood.
I felt like a freak for about 30 days because all my friends, they made a big hoop to do out of it, you know.
Right, I would think.
Barry White's music brings up all kinds of vibes. His deep, sultry voice paired with lush production and romantic lyrics made for the perfect soundtrack to any romantic moment. Basically, his music was purely intimate.
Don't go changing. trying to please me.
While it had a disco beat, calling it just disco doesn't do it justice. Throbbing, soulful, and full of heart is a better way to describe Barry White's tunes. An unlikely sex symbol, Barry was over 300 pounds with a goatee and long curly hair. His journey from the Watts area of Los Angeles to becoming a multi-platinum artist, producer, arranger, and songwriter is nothing short of miraculous.
I am very deeply honored. It is my privilege to stand here tonight.
Barry White was born in Galveston, Texas in 1944, but his family moved to the east side of Los Angeles right after he was born. He and his younger brother Daryl spent their youth getting in and out of trouble. Barry was even expelled from high school for hitting a teacher, and both brothers ended up in juvenile hall for various crimes like car theft and robbery. After his first stint in juvie, Barry vowed to turn his life around. This promise led him to his successful music career. From then on, Barry dedicated a lot of his time to helping inner-city kids find career paths and avoid a life of crime. White chose to be transparent about his past to his young fans later in life. "So I tell young people the truth, and a lot of them listen," he said. "They know I've been to jail, I've never hid my past, and I never will. I don't want no young person to think he's stuck in that misery." His musical journey began early. He started playing the piano at the age of 5 and joined the church choir by 8. His mother taught him how to harmonize, and he soaked up her record collection. Even though he became an incredible musician, Barry never learned to read music. Everything came straight from his head and was initially dictated to a producer or arranger. By the time he was 11, Barry was already playing piano for Jesse Belvin on the 50s R&B classic Goodnight My Love.
Sunny and bright, and bring you close.
In his teens, Barry sang bass and wrote songs for several R&B groups, including the Upfronts in 1960. It was during these early years that Barry realized music was his ticket out of the ghetto. Even though he started as a singer, he preferred being behind the scenes as a creator, producer, and arranger rather than in the spotlight. Dropping out of high school at 17, Barry focused on his goal and started working for Rampart Records as an arranger.
I believe in woman. I believe that we can change anything that's wrong.
Barry White got his first taste of success as a songwriter just a year after dropping out of high school. In 1964, Harlem Shuffle, recorded by Bob and Earl, became a notable R&B hit, though it missed the top 40. It later became a top 5 hit for the Rolling Stones in 1986. Earl then changed his name to Jackie Lee, and Barry wrote and arranged his 1965 solo hit, The Duck, which reached hash 14. The 1965 race riots in Watts intensified Barry's determination to leave the neighborhood, leading him to join Jackie Lee's 1966 tour as an arranger, drummer, and tour manager. By then, Barry was married to his high school sweetheart and had 4 kids to support.
She was telling us a little background of him, and then when he, we were introduced to him, and then he looked at her, and as he was looking at her, I could see the
After the tour, Barry joined Bronco Records as a producer, eventually becoming head of artists and repertoire before the company folded in 1969. During this time, Barry learned every aspect of the record industry, from the business side to production. While at the label, he was behind hits for Felice Taylor and Viola Wills. Barry also discovered 3 backup singers who would significantly impact his career, sisters Linda and Glodian James, along with Diane Taylor. These 3 women soon became the focus of Barry's energies and talent.
I gave him the name Love Unlimited, and I was very impressed. The look of them, the attitude of them, it was so positive.
I met Love Unlimited in a studio, White remembers. I was producing a record on a friend of theirs, and they were the background singers for her. They asked me would I produce them as a group. I saw that they were serious, that they really wanted to do it, and we came together. He groomed the trio, Love Unlimited, from 1969 until 1971, when they signed with Uni Records. Their debut single, Walking in the Rain with the One I Love, written and produced by White, became a million seller in 1972. The record featured a cameo appearance by Barry himself at the end, marking the first time his booming bass voice was heard on vinyl by millions. From the start of the record, with its weather-related sound effects and opening monologue, it was clear that something special was being created. The breathy voices, heavy bass line, and soaring strings became the hallmark of White's 70s sound. The success of Walking in the Rain with the One I Love, inspired by Barry White's admiration for the Supremes and the songwriting production talents of Motown's Holland/Dozier/Holland, established him as a new force in the record industry. Backed by the Love Unlimited Orchestra, which grew from 20 to 41 musicians, the trio became a hit on both sides of the Atlantic.
Talking to him and seeing the other part of him aside from the producer, the man. And then I kind of got interested.
As 1972 drew to a close, Barry was working on Love Unlimited's debut album while recording a few of his own songs as demos for other artists. These demos, however, launched him into a solo career, making him one of the best-selling solo singers of the 70s. The amazing part, Barry never intended for it to happen. I never wanted to sing. My career that I was reaching for was writer, composer, arranger, and producer. That's what I always wanted to do. I went into the studio to put down these 3 songs I wrote to find a male artist to sing them. I always write the songs, finish them, then I go into the studio and lay them down, make a good cassette on them, and then find an artist and teach it to him. But when I came out of the studio on these 3 songs and sat behind that big console mixer and heard that voice in those songs with just a piano, I knew that the voice for those songs, I was listening to it. That's how Barry White came about. In 1973, Russ Regan, the president of Uni Records, became head of 20th Century Records, bringing Love Unlimited and Barry White with him. This set the stage for 5 years of gold and platinum albums. Barry achieved this feat with 3 different musical entities: himself, Love Unlimited, and the Love Unlimited Orchestra. The avalanche of hits began quickly in April 1973 with the release of Barry's first solo single, I'm Gonna Love You Just a Little Bit More Baby, which reached #1 on the R&B charts and #3 on the pop charts, selling 1 million copies. It became the fastest-selling single in 20th Century Records history. His follow-up, I've Got So Much to Give, dedicated to Glodian James, whom he married in 1975, made the top 40 during the summer, while Never Never Gonna Give You Up hit the top 10 by the end of the year. Meanwhile, Love Unlimited charted with It May Be Winter Outside, but in My Heart It's Spring, a song with a long history. Barry explains the origins of It May Be Winter Outside, which he co-wrote with Paul Politi in 1966. Initially recorded with Felice Taylor, it became a #1 hit in England. He later recorded it with Love Unlimited in 1973, achieving another #1 hit in England with the group. Reflecting on its success, Barry notes his multiple achievements with the song. In 1973, Love Unlimited's debut album was finally released, featuring an instrumental track leading into the title song, Under the Influence of Love. DJs often played these songs together in club, sparking demand for the instrumental prelude performed by the Love Unlimited Orchestra. With Barry conducting a 41-piece ensemble, the smooth instrumental Love's Theme reached #1 early in 1974. By the end of 1973, Barry had sold over $16 million worth of records and was named Top New Male Vocalist of the Year by Billboard. Early in 1974, he simultaneously had hits on the charts with all 3 of his musical entities. In 1974, Love Unlimited achieved a historic milestone with their album reaching #3 on Billboard's Album 100. Making them the first female artist to enter the top 5 on the pop album charts, surpassing even the Supremes. Barry White reflected on his love for music, emphasizing his instrumental inclinations by creating private copies of tracks without vocals, both his own and others. This passion culminated in the Love Unlimited Orchestra, where he could orchestrate on a grand scale and produce beautiful music. Moving songs from Love Unlimited's album to singles boosted the orchestra's album success, a development Barry found incredible. Barry White's solo career continued to soar with hits like Can't Get Enough of Your Love Babe, his only #1 record, and You're the First, the Last, My Everything, which peaked at #2 in 1974. 1975 saw further success with top 10 hits including What Am I Going to Do With You and I'll Do For You Anything You Want Me To. Meanwhile, Love Unlimited climbed into the top 40 with I Belong to You, and the Love Unlimited Orchestra scored again with Satin Soul. By the end of 1975, Barry White had amassed 6 gold singles and 7 gold albums, cementing his status as a music legend. Married to Glodian James of Love Unlimited, Barry White moved into a lavish new home in 1975 overlooking the San Fernando Valley, complete with a movie theater and production facility. By then, he had become one of the most successful businessmen in the record industry, managing 2 corporations and a publishing empire. Despite his success, Barry remained connected to his roots, dedicating both money and time to youth organizations in Los Angeles. In 1976, Barry released Let the Music Play, a track that, despite its potential, only managed to sneak into the top 40. This overlooked tune had all the ingredients for a massive hit. Unfortunately, Russ Regan, who had originally signed Barry to 20th Century Records, had left to start his own label. With Regan's departure, the company's enthusiasm for Barry, who had been instrumental in their earlier success, waned significantly.
Let the music play. I just wanna dance the night away.
That song would have been a #1 record if the record company hadn't fallen apart, Barry White reveals. There were a lot of internal issues at 20th Century Records. In just 3 years, the company grew so big that internal fighting became common. If things had been more stable, Let the Music Play could have been the biggest record of the year. I still perform it in my shows today. It's my closing song, Let the Music Play. After I Belong to You in 1975, Love Unlimited didn't chart again on the singles chart. However, the Love Unlimited Orchestra continued to see moderate success, notably recording the score for the Dino De Laurentiis version of King Kong in 1977. That same year, Barry White achieved his final top 10 and million-selling pop smash so far with It's Ecstasy When You Lay Down Next to Me. The song was seductive and teasing, with a pulsing beat that captivated listeners. Its provocative nature led to bans on several stations, though Barry himself wasn't bothered by this fact. Barry White reflects on his song Ecstasy When You Lay Down Next to Me as an honest expression of love and attraction, emphasizing that he wrote it but gifted the credit to others.
In my opinion, a successful person. Sure, there's no future as far as he's in the papers and he's doing business and he's earning money.
He describes it as a song that captures the feelings people experience on the dance floor or when they're with someone they're interested in. Regarding his career choices, Barry explains that beyond his early successes on the charts, he chose not to produce other artists during the 70s. Despite high demand for his artistry, he attributes this decision to his principles and financial stability. I never wanted to be the type of writer, composer, producer who produces a lot of artists. I had opportunities to work with many artists in the industry, but I didn't pursue them aggressively. I had enough success and financial security as a writer, composer, musician, arranger, artist, and record producer. I made enough money to not have to sell my talents in that way. Barry White's career shifted in the late 70s as 20th Century Records focused more on the success of the Star Wars album, reducing their support for his work. His final chart entry of the decade, Oh What a Night for Dancing, peaked at #24 in 1978. After a successful run of 5 years and over 100 million records sold, Barry parted ways with 20th Century. In 1978, Barry signed with CBS and launched his own label division, Unlimited Gold, amidst the disco boom. He sensed that the multi-platinum era was ending along with the decade. From 1972 to 1978, I was on the charts every year, Barry recalls. We made a deal with CBS in '79, and the first album went platinum. Then the industry crashed. That's just how it was. I was there for 5 years. The entire music industry experienced a peak during the Saturday Night Fever Grease era of 1978, but faced a downturn by late 1979 due to anti-disco sentiment. Sales declined across the board as the 80s began. Barry White released 9 albums on Unlimited Gold, distributed through CBS over the next 5 years. These included albums with the Love Unlimited Orchestra and a 1981 collection of duets with his wife Glodian, but none achieved notable success. In the early half of the 80s, Barry White faced a learning curve as new technology and innovative ideas ushered in a new wave of artists dominating the pop charts. He adapted to the changing landscape by embracing self-production and the use of computers in music creation. In 1985, Barry made a decision to re-enter production, striking a deal with A&M Records. Their collaboration resulted in the album The Right Night and Barry White, though they faced challenges when much of the staff quit shortly after signing.
What's coming there?
Technology. See, what we see today is just the taking off of it. It's still coming. Technology is going to replace human beings.
By 1989, Barry released Barry White, The Man Is Back on A&M Records, marking a return to prominence on the R&B charts. His collaboration on Quincy Jones's album Back on the Block in 1990, particularly the track The Secret Garden, became a #1 R&B hit and also reached the top 40 on the pop charts. Barry shared vocals with contemporary artists like James Ingram, Al B. Sure, and El DeBarge on this memorable track. In 1992, Barry White continued his resurgence with the album Put Me in Your Mix, signaling a further return to mainstream chart success.
I'm the best you know. Put me in your mix.
Barry White expressed his excitement about blending the wisdom and technology of yesterday and today to create something futuristic. "We took in yesterday and today and created tomorrow," he exclaimed enthusiastically. In 1992, Barry appeared on a BBC television program in England with Lisa Stansfield, whose debut hit All Around the World echoed the production and style reminiscent of the 70s Barry White school. They collaborated to re-record the song together, which was released as the B-side for Lisa's single Time to Make You Mine. This collaboration showcased how enduring Barry White's sound remains and highlighted his profound influence on the current generation of artists. When asked about his favorite solo single from his extensive catalog, Barry White replied with passion, "I love all my charted hits, I love them all. I don't like anything I do. I have to love it to record it. There's a difference between me and other people. Most other people like the work that they do. I love mine." His dedication to his craft and the emotional connection he has with his music exemplify his enduring legacy in the music industry. Barry White reflects deeply on his life journey, drawing from his impoverished childhood in Watts, Los Angeles, where he, his mother and brother relied on welfare. He emphasizes the importance of self-belief and initiative, urging young people to start early in pursuing their passions rather than waiting for direction after school. His own experiences shaped his philosophy that material possessions do not define a person, self-perception and determination do. Despite his challenging beginnings, Barry White has become an influential figure in music, actively touring globally and expressing interest in film projects. He hints at reviving his beloved Love Unlimited creations from the 70s, indicating a continued passion for his musical legacy. To his fans, Barry White extends a heartfelt message, transcending race or ethnicity. "To all my brothers and sisters, whether black, white, Latino, Asian, or any other color, it doesn't matter. If you're a fan of mine, I love you. I appreciate you appreciating me and my craft enough to support me. I eagerly await seeing all my fans because to me, that's everybody." Barry White's enduring humility and gratitude towards his fans underscore his profound connection with his audience and the impact of his music across generations. Barry White's legacy endures despite his untimely passing on July 4, 2003, in a West Hollywood hospital. Known as the Maestro for his multifaceted career, he has secured a lasting place in music history. For anyone who experienced the 70s, Barry White's music was synonymous with romance and sensuality. His songs were intimate and sincere, expressing the joy of love for that special someone in a way that resonated deeply. Despite facing criticism from some quarters, Barry White's music stands tall among the great soul tunes of his era, an achievement in itself because he never tried to sell himself to the mainstream executive producers because once he was targeted to them. One of his fans wrote, "Barry White was speaking about artificial intelligence over 38 years ago. He was tapped into a different level of thinking at that time." Another one added, "He was right about the studio space. Nowadays all you need is a computer and a mic. The quality of music is bad." His songs remain a timeless soundtrack for moments of seduction and passion. So, the next time you're setting the mood, consider putting on a Barry White record. It's a tried and true formula for creating an atmosphere of romance and intimacy. Barry White's music continues to evoke emotions and inspire listeners to this day.